Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show. From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or at usamotorandmachine.com.
Microcasting for your city. Talkopolis.
And welcome back, everybody, to Pit Pass. Joe Williams, Larry Woody, and our special guest, Deborah Renshaw. Deborah, just catching up some now, as you've kind of, I don't use the word retired. I think you're just relaxing for a while. Your husband, Sean Parker, has a heck of a racing pedigree behind him, too. So you two make a really good pair. And just to prove that, if you need proof of that, all you got to do is to go out to the quarter-midget track out in Hermitage every once in a while or some of these other places and watch young 9-year-old Jagger, who I believe has won another title.
He did. He's coming off the big 2012 track champion in the Junior Honda division, which we're very proud of. I mean, they put on a great show out there. Those kids, I mean, we recently just got done putting on a little pre-show at the Monster Truck event downtown and at Nashville, and it was good publicity for us. We've done that now for the past couple of years, and those kids put on a show. I mean, you can start them as young as 5, 6 years old, and that goes all the way up to 16. It's part of USAC series, and it's the Quarter Midget Association, Music City Quarter Midget Association in Hermitage, as you said. Have a big icebreaker event coming up in the next few weeks, and we have a good time. I mean, it's a great time.
Yeah, we got to get some details on that. Larry,
are you content being a racing mom, as Deborah Renshaw got racing out of her system, or is somewhere in the back of your mind you'd like to climb through that window one more time?
You know, here's the deal. It's come full circle a little bit as far as now I know what my mom went through, and you know, she wouldn't watch a race for the first 2 or 3 years. Like she would watch the video with me when I got home, but it's a little nerve. I have to keep myself busy. I mean, I usually, sometimes I'll flag the races for the kids and keep myself, you know, occupied, but do I get the urge to get back in a race car? I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's
of course you do.
Yeah, I mean, what does a crew guy who went over the wall part time for an ARCA team want to get back? It's a drug. It's something that you yearn for, and I'll probably be 80 years old and still yearning for it. But if I ever got an opportunity to say, hey, let's go run an ARCA race, let's go run a truck race, I would be back in the car.
But at least you're still around the sport with your children coming up, and your little girl's probably going to end up racing at some point. So Mom you still get your racing fix, you and Sean, through your children.
We do.
So that's great.
We do. And like it or not, I guess we're instilling a lot of competitiveness in them, and I see a lot of that fire between both of us in them, and sometimes we're probably too hard, but you know.
Well, they got good genes.
Yeah, but you say competitiveness like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but usually there's a balance in a family.
Okay.
We don't have a balance in our family.
Everybody's just competitive.
It's a little stressful at times, but it's a good thing.
I didn't know Sean that well when he's the crew chief, obviously very competitive, but I did cover Deborah, and there wasn't anybody more competitive than Deborah Renshaw in those days. And some of the best racing, Joe, and you were calling the races that we saw back then was Deborah and Mark Day and some of those really good, really talented drivers, just lap after lap after lap. And I'd cover a race, a cup race, and come back and be talking to people, and they'd talk about the cup race. I said, man, the best racing I've seen was out at the fairgrounds, Deborah, and some of those guys going at it. So point being, there wasn't anybody more competitive on a racetrack that I've ever seen than Deborah
was. You had Mark Day, you had Mike Reynolds. Remember Mike Reynolds?
Yeah,
I mean, heck of a race car driver. You know, Joe Buford. I mean, you know, Andy Johnson. I mean, you know, and a lot of those guys are still running out there.
And it ate them alive to get beat by
It did. It absolutely
did. They raced you harder than they raced anybody else, which made the racing more exciting.
Very huge point, because you know what? That's what, not to bring it back to Danica just real quick, but when I was racing in the truck series, you're right. It was on the radios, even in the local series. You're gonna let that girl pass you. Yeah. She's still gonna get that. Those guys can say that they're you know, not going to, or maybe not, because it is going to be on national television and maybe the spotters won't be as bad. But it happened in the truck series all the time.
So some of it was a matter of pride. They didn't want to get beat by a girl. Some of it was resentment. You know, there was some lingering resentment over some of the things went on. But the bottom line is they did race you harder probably than they raced any of the boy drivers.
And
made me better.
Yeah, and you're talking about coming full circle.
Yeah.
You know, you race some of these guys. Jagger's racing the
next generation
of these guys, right?
Yeah, you've got like I said,
Jen Selling.
Yeah, there you go. At the track in Hermitage, we've got Scott Fetcho, and you know a lot of you guys know Scott.
Yep.
He's been around the track a long time, and he's got a great past history at the fairgrounds, even going across the wall in a lot of ARCA events or truck events with Bobby Hamilton back in the day. And then you've got Andy Johnson. I mean, of course, everybody knows who Andy is. Such a great talent. So you've got his kid, you've got Scott Fetcho's kid, and you've got my kid out there competing against each other. And it's funny, you know, last weekend we went out to the track and we were testing, and Scott Fetcho's son, Dylan, he's a little bit older than Jagger, and Jagger's moving up divisions. Well, they spent about 30, 45 minutes out there, Jagger following Dylan, you know, as he's progressing up, and Dylan being more of a mentor role. And then, you know, you've got the dads out and the moms out there being competitive as you know what. Oh, and Bobby Jr.'s kids are out there too. I forgot. Yeah, his little girl. She's out there. He's joined us this past year, and I mean, we have a good time.
The difference I saw there, though, when I went out to visit, and you tell me if I'm wrong, difference I saw there was, Larry, it was much more the way local racing used to be. Yeah, I'm going to fight you tooth and nail, but you need a brake pad. So
Completely.
you can make this race. There's 3 in the trailer. Go get one.
100%.
You need help putting it on. Let's get it done so you can get out there with the rest of us. Big difference. I mean the what I call the correct feel. Did I misread that?
Yeah.
Did I misread that?
So no trackside friction between the moms and dads from some of the old fairgrounds days. Like you and Andy get along okay?
No, not like I mean, Andy and I are good friends. More now probably than back in the day for sure. And some of you remember I did rent his late model, and Randy Weaver and we all went racing a few UARA races and had a good time. And even at the fairgrounds, I did drive his car. So it's funny how things come full circle with that as well. And but it's a good family feel out there at the racetrack. And yes, we do have our drama at times. You know, we do have tech tear down, and we had a issue that we had to deal with there. But at the end of the day, a rule is a rule is a rule.
Well, I know that Andy and Mark and Joe and some of those guys have mellowed over the years. I'm not sure Deborah's mellowed.
I'm beginning to wonder. I think you're right.
I still don't think you'd want to mess with her on the track.
Oh, gosh.
Real quick.
My filter is gone, and it becomes more of that. It becomes more apparent every day.
You had one.
You never had a restrictor plate,
I was going to say,
a little bit.
A lot of things going on in Daytona. Now, we've seen the fan-controlled Sprint Unlimited, which was a snoozer. We've seen qualifying. The ARCA race, it was pretty good. The last couple of nights, NASCAR has done their UNOH Battle at the Beach. And all 3 of these races have ended. Well, 3 races were won by drivers who led a total of 4 laps.
Yep.
2 last lap passes and 1 next to last. A lot of moving and shoving. Steve Park won the modified race last night.
So happy for him.
Yep.
Monday night, a young kid by the name of Kyle Larson, who may now be the most hated driver in all of the country.
No, you do what you have to do.
Oh, but not in the middle of the straightaway.
He did.
He hit him once in the quarter, and then he turned him. The difference, $20,000 to win, $2,500 for second. So
it is a difference between in the corner versus in the straightaway. I will have to agree with that. But, you know, there's so many questions. Did they have a history together? Did something happen between the 2 of them a year ago? You know, I mean, you never know in that situation.
He's from California. The guy's from Virginia.
That's true. That's true.
Kind of like Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon, you know.
Well, yeah.
That thing had been building for weeks, if not
right.
months, when
it's
it
their
boiled
history.
over. So you're right. You never know. That particular incident might have been weeks in the making.
But
Now,
it is a trophy at Daytona.
Exactly.
And that was the first time in history that had ever happened for the late model.
They built a little 4/10 mile paper clip on the back straightaway.
Woo!
That was maybe the tightest turns I've ever seen in a racetrack, other than maybe a road course.
Just like the old quarter mile at the fairgrounds.
It was worse.
Oh, yeah.
Much worse.
I don't know if I envied them at all sometimes in the corners.
Yeah. Now, coming up
Breaks.
Thursday, the duels, the twins, to set the lineup, except for Danica and
Hey,
Jeff
she
Gordon.
can still run it. Who knows?
Well, she's got to start it. She's got to start.
Joe,
She
you
can
made a
park
good point.
immediately.
I asked you, and again,
She
it
needs
shows
the
my,
experience.
how little I know about the racing. I'd always wondered why the two front row drivers, in this case Danica and Jeff Gordon, would bother running the qualifiers because they can't improve their positions. They're already set. Why get out and risk wiping out your car in the races? And Joe explained,
If you don't, you go to the rear.
it's a NASCAR rule. They have to start it.
You will still have that history of getting the pole position, okay? And this is the first year for that Gen 6 car.
Yeah.
Why not get that experience for the bigger picture of possibly winning the Daytona 500 and becoming the largest sports figure in
those
history?
qualifying races have a history of being pretty wild because there are a lot of desperate drivers that have to do well to get in there. And what if Danica and Jeff get caught in somebody else's wipeout, and there goes their fast cars for the 500? I'm just not sure it's worth it. I might be a start and park if I were Danica or Jeff.
Wouldn't be the first time it happened either.
But you answered my question. The reason they do it is because NASCAR requires them to at least start it.
Well, and then here's another thing. I mean, everybody has a different agenda. You've got teams that have huge amounts of budgets and they've got a backup car, and you've got teams that don't have a backup car, and you've got teams that do have the budget and the backup car, but it's not as good of a car, so they're going to try to protect that car. And then there's drivers that probably have a better car in the trailer, and they're going to want to destroy that car so they can get the better car. You've got different
She's
agendas.
always thinking.
I mean,
She's always
seriously.
thinking.
It's an angle. Everything's an angle.
Everything.
Well, it's the truth.
Friday night, the trucks. Good luck, Clay Greenfield out of Springfield. He'll be going down to run that race.
Good little driver.
Yeah,
Good
glad
driver.
to see Ricky
Absolutely.
Crawford back in a truck.
Me too. I love that guy.
He's a good guy.
He's a character.
He is.
Yeah, 39 trucks trying to get 30 spots, I guess, in the Nationwide Series on Saturday.
Speaking of the
35
trucks,
spots.
It's 36. Yeah,
speaking
there's
of
only
trucks,
3 that'll go home.
quickly,
You're right.
Joe,
Yeah.
while we have Deborah here, are you still the only female driver to lead a
Truck race?
truck race? I know you were at one point, and I don't know if
I
since
don't-
then.
I don't know.
You were I know you were the
no,
first. You were
I think,
you were the
I think,
first one
I
to lead
think
it. Since then,
somebody has.
But
yeah.
you were the first woman
Yes.
driver to lead
Yes.
a lap in a truck
Yes,
race. Go ahead,
yes.
Joe.
Saturday, you've got the Nationwide race. Jeff Green has filed an entry. 9 out of the 45 attempting to get 40 spots. That was a change from 43 to 40.
There you go.
9 out of the 45 have cup connections. Sorry, will not be running for points. 17 out of the 45 are connected to cup teams. So that means some of the Nationwide guys, they're going to suffer again. They're not going to get that opening race to make the opening race to get their points started.
And speaking of Jeff Green, it's so sad to see a great driver like Jeff Green was in the years past, as good a driver as came through here, to have to be relegated to some of those starting park stuff and the the clunker cars and that kind of stuff as he's been the last couple of years. He's just too good a driver to. You just feel sad to. It's like seeing a Secretariat hooked up to a plow. To see Jeff go out like that.
You've seen the transformation. I mean, let's face it. Racing is not what it used to be, but it's becoming a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Speaking of entertaining, I bet it would have been entertaining to hear this acceptance speech. Sterling Marlin, inducted one night this week into the Daytona Stock Car Hall of Fame, 2-time Daytona 500 winner.
Amazing.
Somebody ought to write a book about him.
Somebody should. Maybe 2 books. No, Sterling's great.
Amazon.com, Google Sterling Marlin and Larry Woody.
Hadn't changed a bit. Raced 17 years, 278 races before he finally won a race, and it was the Daytona 500. And then goes back and wins it again next year. What a great story.
Amazing.
What a great person.
All right, Deborah, well, thank you.
Hasn't changed a bit.
Not a lick. Same old tobacco chopping farm boy
Hard-headed.
from Carter's Creek that he was before he won 2 Daytona 500s. And success doesn't seem to have changed Deborah Renshaw either.
No, you're right.
Well, thanks.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I
It's been
appreciate
fun.
it. I love talking racing, and once it's in your blood, it'll never go out.
Kind of like malaria. I think that's what Sterling once said.
Oh my God!
We need to have you back, Deborah. It's fun to chat with you and get
It's
caught
fun.
up. It's
Definitely fun.
Only
Keeping it
Larry.
real. Keeping it real.
Like malaria. As we end this segment, I want to say hi to our folks at USA Motor and Machine. As they're over on Cleveland Avenue. Whether it's your daily driver needs a little engine work or you're looking for a race car engine, they do a lot of stuff and can probably handle anything you've got up your sleeve. That's USA Motor and Machine on Cleveland Avenue. Thank you again to Deborah Renshaw. When we come back, we'll visit with Nashville local now ARCA driver, Mason Mingus. That and more coming up on this extended edition of Pit Pass.